I'm not saying it definitely helps business relationships when free food is involved.
Doesn't hurt.
But yeah, at the same time, I'm saying don't not do it. Wink, wink, because this is an audio recording. They can't see me winking, blatantly winking. The Career Challenges Podcast, a collection of stories about overcoming professional hurdles and learning lessons the hard way. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Kyle Werkerly, certified ghostwriter. So, this is Career Challenges Podcast, episode, I want to say we're on episode 5. I'm pretty sure this is number 5, if I'm counting correctly.
I'm not number 1. My heart is broken.
I'm so sorry, Derek Lewis. I know we're close. Out of all my guests, I'm sure you're the one person I've actually met in person. The rest, I don't know. Actually, yeah. Guest number 4, I met him in person too. Oddly enough, both of you guys were buying me food at the time. So.
Well, I mean, how else do the best of relationships begin?
True. Good point. And I feel we've had a really great relationship. A lot of information shared back and forth. Same with my other guest, John Knotts. He actually bought me breakfast as well. You bought me a crepe, and he got me a breakfast as well. I can't remember what I got when I was eating with him. Anyway, I'm rambling here. But I'm not saying it definitely helps business relationships when free food is involved.
Doesn't hurt.
But yeah, at the same time, I'm saying don't not do it. Wink, wink, because this is an audio recording. They can't see me winking, blatantly winking. But that said, Derek, you and I, we go back a while. In fact, you were the one who told me that, I should really look into Claudia Suzanne's ghostwriting certification course, that Gotham Ghostwriters was a legit ghostwriter matching forum. And so, from the beginning, I feel I looked up to you as a mentor, somebody who knew it, somebody who had basically earned their stripes in this business. And so when you had filled out the questionnaire beforehand, you wrote in there, I'm good enough. I'm more than good enough. And I thought, who in their mind would tell Derek Lewis that he's not good enough? So who told you that, Derek?
Well, Kyle, those are all very, very kind words. And I know that I'm grinning and smirking and posing here on the other side of the camera, but I do appreciate those. Mm-hmm. Kyle, honestly, the person who told me that more than anyone else was really myself. That whenever I started out, I really didn't know what I was doing. I started my journey as a solo entrepreneur by necessity more than by plan. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to have my own business, but none of it went according to plan at all. And because I didn't have a plan, I found myself in the straits of desperation. Mm-hmm. And that desperation, it really beat up my self-confidence. And not only did it beat up my worth as a person, but I also started, and this is just being dumb and naive, that whenever I went into business, I went into a trade that I had no practice or preparation for. And so I was at the bottom of a very steep learning curve. And so it felt like no matter how much I learned or no matter how much I did, no matter how much, quote, success, measure of success that I felt that I had earned, that it was still just not enough. And so going through those years of just being at the short end of the stick in so many regards. And it was not things that world or the life had done to me. This is a situation that I really kind of put myself in, unbeknowing. But most of it was really, me telling myself me that I wasn't good enough, or that I thought that I was this, smart kid in school and college, and get out here in the real world, and the real world beat me up via my wallet, or my lack of in my wallet.
Yeah.
And having genetic anxiety and crippling depression, it didn't help.
No, I can imagine it wouldn't.
No. So that's the. I can go down any of those rabbit trails. But to answer your question, it was really my self-imposed, self-limiting beliefs. And now looking back, if I were, the 37-year-old man I am today, looking back at that 25, 26-year-old kid, I would say, well, of course you're having a hard time of it, man. Here it is, the Great Recession. Of course, the economy is down. Of course, there are not a whole lot of employers out there. Of course, the job market is competitive because there have been massive layoffs. And not only that, but you're going into an industry that you have no knowledge of, and you're in a trade that you have no training for. So yeah, all of that combined, it's going to be hard going for a while. But like everything else you've done in your life, if you'll put your head down, be smart, work hard, treat people right, that investment will eventually pay off. And now here I am, Kyle. And this is not bragging. This is really me being wonderment more than anything. Not only have I found my sea legs, but my business is doing so well, not just income-wise, but stability-wise, that my wife, who is a nurse practitioner, quit her job in Thanksgiving so that she could come home and be a full-time mom while our kids finish. What do you say? Our kids finish getting while our children are still young. The way she says it is that I can be a nurse midwife for any part of the rest of my life, but I can only be the mother of young children for the next few years.
Definitely.
And it's my business income that has enabled that lifestyle.
Wow. So 2 questions. Your story prompts 2 questions for me.
Fire away.
Yeah, definitely. So what brought about this change in your mindset? Was it reading a book, a speaker, situations? And then the second question is, when you did decide to change that mental narrative in your head, how soon were you able to see things kind of turn around for you?
Kyle, I will tell you. I can actually take you to the exact spot in the road, the literal road, where it changed. So I'd quit my awful job. And anyway, I don't want to go down that road.
I understand.
I've finally gotten to the place where I can think of the man without wishing that fire would erupt from his eyeballs. A lot of therapy, a lot of prayer. It had probably been about 8 or 9 months. No, actually it was probably more about like 18 months. I had been on my own, self-employed, and I was not seeing a whole lot of success and traction and money on the self-employed side. But even while I was trying to do, get my business up and going and trying to get some momentum of any kind, try to see some success, At the same time, because I was desperate, I was also still trying to get jobs. So I was updating my resume. I was I'd spend parts of the day. Sometimes if it was a really bad day, I'd spend all day trying to find a job. And then on let's see, so it must have been a Friday. Yeah, it had to have been a Friday. So it was a Friday evening. My wife was working. And I found a job, a local job, that, Kyle, you could not have imagined a more perfect job for me. I mean, Kyle, it was so perfect that if you would have taken the resume that I had just updated a week or a couple of weeks earlier and have looked at the job description, you would have thought that I was somebody's nephew. Like I had given my resume to my dad or my uncle or whoever, and they had given the resume to the HR person, and they said, I want to hire my nephew. I need you to write a job description based on this resume. I kid you not, it was perfect. I mean, even like little details that are perfect. Kyle, I was over the moon. I was over the moon. So, I immediately, tweaked my cover letter. No, I wrote a cover letter for it, tweaked my resume, and then faxed it in. Now, I found it probably like 5:30 or 6 that evening. And it said on the whatever, the application, that the deadline was 5:00 that day.
Oh no!
I was like, okay, so and they wanted a fax, and I was like, who uses a fax machine anymore? Anyway, they wanted a fax. And I was like, okay, so this is fine. I'm going to fax this in. It's the evening of the 5:00 deadline, whatever. I am obviously perfect for the job. It was eerie. This is God. The heavens have opened up. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't wait until Monday morning, where I could call and make sure that they had received my fax and everything, and that we were gonna, basically I was gonna march in there and I'd start Tuesday. I wasn't that dumb, but that attitude. So that Monday morning, got up. Amanda was working, so it was I was on point for getting Allie ready. And there's no way that I was going to call and check on a fax with a screaming infant in the background or a toddler. So got Allie ready, raced over there to her daycare, put her in, came back out, got in the car, got my phone, called him up. And Kyle, despite the fact that I was only 3.5 hours past the deadline on a Friday evening, and this wasn't like noon on a Wednesday or something, they would not accept my application. Kyle, and this was an organization. It wasn't like this was Uncle Sam. With the federal government, you have to, if you say that, applications stop at 5:00 when they start, they stop at 5:00 on a Friday. This is a private organization. They have the leeway to say, okay, this was only a few hours. And look, obviously this guy is perfect for this position. We're going to move heaven and earth because this is exactly who we were looking for. Who knew that he was just 25 minutes down the road?
Yeah.
No. Kyle, I became so furious because I had been praying, I had been crying, I had been desperate, and here I am, just trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good father, trying to be just a good old American boy, trying to make a living and doing the best I can. And here are these pencil pushing morons that have the perfect candidate for what they're looking for, down to some of the little specific little tasks and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
The education, perfect. I was like, you're not going to find this person in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am 25 minutes down the road. I don't even have to move. Like, that's my daily commute. I pulled out from a daycare. I went probably 1/10 of a mile, and I hit my steering wheel with my hand so hard that I don't know what it takes to break a steering wheel. This was like a little Toyota, so I'm not a pretty guy, so I don't know. Maybe I thought I could. But I hit the steering wheel so hard. But in my mind, I said, that's it. I am never again going to put my future, my hopes, and my dreams in some pencil-pushing moron's hands. That's it. I'm burning the bridges. You know, they have that apocryphal tale of Cortez burning the ships. He landed in Mexico. And that's it. No more resumes, no more jobs, no more job applications, no more interviews, no nothing. I am either going to make this business happen or I'm going to die trying. That's it. There are no other options. And Kyle, whenever I made that decision to stop trying to do a business and get a job and go back, whenever I said, that's it. It's this or nothing. I'm sorry if Amanda, if she decides that, I don't know. I don't know what I thought that the consequences would be. But once I decided that there was no other way, that I was going to make this business work or die in the process, that was it, Kyle. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't like the heavens all of a sudden opened up and 20 minutes later I had a phone call with, hey, we want to, but that was the beginning of the journey of where I am today. That decision is why here, 8 years later, my wife is able to quit her job as a nurse practitioner with great health care, and us come home, me provide my business income, provide for both of us while we pay for private health care, take care of both of our kids, drive 2 nice cars, live in a nice home, because of that moment. That was whenever my business, my mindset, my everything changed, because there was no other option.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah, it was and is.
Wow. So you mentioned in your questionnaire that the hardest way is the best way, and so is this your proof of that?
On the macro scale, yeah. This was the harder way. It would have been easier just to have taken. Actually, the easiest thing would have been to have swallowed my pride and gone crawling back to my old boss, saying, "I can't make it out here in the real world. Would you please give me my old job back?" The hard thing to do was to not go back to that, even whenever he had kind of floated it out there that he was open to me coming back and that all was forgiven. In the micro scale, with my clients, with my authors, I have done things that it was harder. I didn't really have to. I'll give you a specific example. So with one author, we had finished the book. By the terms of our agreement, we were done. Mm-hmm. I had ghostwritten the manuscript. The author loved it. And I mean, that's my guarantee that you will have a book that you love. And I placed her with a publisher. She had successfully signed. That was part of the agreement. And then the publisher said, so we love her book. We just need more of it. In fact, we need you to double the word count. We need
gosh.
Yeah.
What was the original word count?
35,000.
35,000. Oh, that's decent. I mean, that's not a pamphlet. That's not a booklet. That's a decent book.
Yeah, it's a good little airplane read. And for the kinds of books that I specialize in, that's what a lot of readers want. And for the agreement with my author, my standard agreement says that the book will be between 25,000 and 75,000 words, because that's what standard business books are. So by the letter of our agreement, technically, we were done. I'd finished everything that I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I said there was never really an option in my mind that I could just leave her, in the room in the proverbial room with the publisher, and may say, "Look, I've done my part. I'm good. Peace. I'm out."
Yeah.
And it didn't really cross my mind to go say, "Well, all right, give me that much money again, and we'll go double the word count." I just took it on the chin. I said, "Well, let's do it. Let's find a way to do it, and not just to pad it, because there's no way that I'm going to let my authors go out into the world with a book that people can say, it was a good book, but it could have been half as long, and it'd have been fine."
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not going to fluff it, pad it with fluff and just to stretch the word count. If we're going to put another 35,000 words in there, they're going to be 35,000 good words.
Yeah, and that's what we've been trained to do as ghostwriters through the Ghostwriting Professional Designation program. We're there to do quality work.
Right.
I can remember, like, on my first assignment, my first real ghostwriting assignment, and bombing that, and Claudia coming back to me and saying, it is your responsibility to do a good job. Those are premature words. And it was harsh, but it was also what I needed to hear, and realizing, this author they're trusting me to give them a good book, not a good chapter with 8 more chapters of, extra superfluous, really long adjectives, cascading on and on and on from nothing. This is big boy stuff. We're going to put on our big boy pants. We're going to go do big boy things. We're going to write these books. We're going to do quality work. So, yeah.
And Colin, I mean, your example is actually the answer to the question about, the harder way is the best way, because you chose to do, to own up to it and say this is something that needs to be done. And it's the harder way. I mean, there was no, professor or teacher lording over you saying, "I'm going to give you an F."
Mm-hmm.
The author's not going to come back and say, "Well, I'm going to sue you and let's go see a judge." And the judge, that's not going to. You had the option to take the easy way out with really no consequences, no real consequences. And you chose to take the higher yet harder path. And because you did, not only did it, I'm sure, cement the relationship with your author. I'm dead sure that it cemented your relationship with Claudia.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a big deal in ghostwriting circles.
Yeah.
And probably more importantly, it lets you look in a mirror knowing that you did the right thing, knowing that you can look at the man in the mirror and see someone who has honor and integrity,
mm-hmm.
A real professional who's going to do the right thing even whenever it's not the easy thing.
Yeah. And similar to your situation, that was, I don't want to say it was the point, but I can look back and look on that and say, I am good enough because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you prove to yourself that even if you have to go back and rewrite 8 chapters, that you can do it because you've done it before. You had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's thanks to that class and other experiences. I feel that that's what puts certified ghostwriters, the ghostwriters who've gone through that course, on another level. Another thing I really loved that you mentioned, that we're not Hondas, we're not Toyotas, we're Mercedes, we're Ferraris, we're Maseratis. And I was like, yes, I really like, even though I'm not really a Ferrari guy myself. I mean, they're expensive cars, and I like that analogy she was using in the course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm 6 foot. I'm kind of a big man, so the smaller sports cars, they don't really do it for me. But yeah,
True. But what was it? The Bourne, not the Matt Damon one. Jeremy Renner, the Bourne Legacy. This guy's talking about, we gave you a Ferrari and you treated it like a lawnmower. And I'm like, I want to make that into a plaque and put that in my office. And, or, whenever I'm doing these podcast episodes, and there's that, whenever I get a chance to do the video, to have that behind me so that people, look at that and like, oh, yeah, we're not dealing with a Husqvarna here, even though Husqvarna is a dependable brand of lawnmower. It's like, no, this is
a Ferrari lawnmower.
Yeah, well, not a lawnmower, but a Ferrari. So, anyway, you were saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get us off track there.
I don't think we were off track. This is all part and parcel of it. And if I was saying something, I've completely forgotten it. So just pretend like I finished that thought. It was a brilliant thought, if I do say so myself. Whatever.
It was very brilliant, and as brilliance goes, it creates more brilliance. And so that's what we were doing. Is going off of that brilliance. And have you had those moments with your authors where you're talking and conversing, and you either hear it in their voice or you see it in their face? They have that moment of, oh my gosh, now I get it, and they say it, or you're able to kind of repeat back to them what they said, and then they get it. Have you had those moments before with authors?
I mean, I have, on a number of different scales. And which are we talking about? Whenever I tell them, you're talking about whenever they say something brilliant and I repeat it back to them and they say, oh, wow, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, that's what you just said. You're amazing.
Yeah. I do remember one time specifically I reworded it because he had said maybe like 20 words and I said it in about 10.
Yeah.
But I really hadn't changed the heart of what he had said, this author. And he goes, wow, that's really good. That's good work, Kyle. I said, no, you said that. That's your stuff. And of course, and even if I had come up with it myself, I'm like, well, it's his project. We're going to use it in his project. And he'll obviously get the credit for that. But he kind of winked at me like, sure, thanks for making me look good. Let's keep going with this.
But that's what, if we're talking about ghostwriting, I mean, that's what professional ghostwriting is all about. That we are not coming up with these ideas. The way I used to say it is, I make my authors sound like themselves on the very best day of their life. Mm-hmm. So whenever they have said something just succinctly or just perfectly, it's like and Mark Twain, has a well-known quote: "The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug." Mm-hmm. So whenever the authors say they're rambling, or not rambling, but if they're just kind of talking off the cuff, it's kind of a lightning bug. But whenever we are able to take those very words, that very sentiment, and say it succinctly, or be able to use just kind of a turn of phrase, where it goes from a lightning bug to lightning, mm-hmm. That's a little bit of the magic of what professional ghostwriting is supposed to be.
Yeah. And I love that. It's I'm going to admit it's kind of addictive. And so I feel I keep chasing that feeling of having those moments with clients, with
And
authors.
it's not a bad addiction.
No, not at all.
Makes them happy, and it actually makes you money. Most addictions cost you money, if not
Yeah.
relationships and health and everything else. Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, if we're going to talk about it in terms of addiction, yeah, maybe we should. We should
Definitely.
stop. I'm going to stop.
Yeah,
You take that metaphor way too far.
definitely. Definitely. When I worked at the San Antonio Food Bank for a while, and helping people in that situation, because ghostwriting, I am helping people, and the San Antonio Food Bank on a macro level, I'm helping people. It's just very different micro actions is what
Yeah.
the difference was. Anyway, and I remember talking with another person there that I really enjoy doing this. I get to see a positive impact from my hard work, from my hard labor, because it was a very labor intensive job. But it's worth it to me. I mean, yes, we were getting paid, and it wasn't a great paycheck, but we were getting paid. But that was what made it worth it to me, was seeing that I was helping people, and I got a lot out of that, to the point, and I was joking with her, to the point I'm like, I need to go help somebody so I can feel good about myself. I need to do it now. Let's do this now. And she was laughing. We were both laughing. It was one of those funny moments.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling good about helping other people. I mean, we're kind of, as human beings, we're kind of wired to do that. We are social creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back to the professional side of this podcast. You talked about that you get what you negotiate with your clients. Can you elaborate on that some more?
Yeah. So as ghostwriting in general is, we make the joke amongst ourselves. It's a very I don't like to use the word secretive field, but confidentiality is our stock in trade.
Yeah.
So for me, ghostwriters who had their work or their collaboration with an author recognized, on the cover of a book, to me that was for celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, so and so, and then with such and such, and always whenever you see a with, that means the either the ghostwriter, sometimes they'll refer to him as the writing partner. And then I had my sales coach. He said, "Well, why don't you just make that a negotiating point, especially if you have a certain price, and maybe they're more sensitive on the price, or maybe they're just their marketing budget, they already have it planned out for the year. Why don't you offer them?" And it's not really a discount; it's really an exchange in value. But you can give up some of your fee in exchange for having your name mentioned in the acknowledgments, and then later I've actually turned it into a point of having my name on the cover of the book. And I have been continually surprised by how many authors are fine with that. It's something that something I took for granted, that the whole part of being a ghostwriter was that the author did not that authors are ashamed of us. In fact, whenever we have a great collaboration, they deeply respect the ability and the effort, the heart that we bring into a project. For having our name on the cover, it's really about, for them, it's usually about how other people perceive it, because there are plenty of people who have just paid somebody else to just write whatever, and then they slapped their name on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not professional ghostwriting. That's fraud.
Mm-hmm.
That's just being deceitful.
Yeah.
Because if it's not your ideas, if it's not your voice, if it's not anything of yours, you just happen to put your name on it. I mean, that's like buying a house and then saying, yeah, by the way, I designed it. No, you didn't. You bought the house.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with it. So whenever my sales coach helped me open my eyes to the idea that everything is actually negotiable. And as long as you're professional, and as long as you have the best of intentions and you understand how to communicate that, then in fact you can negotiate anything you want to. So there are times whenever some of the ghostpreneurs that I'm training or coaching,
Mm-hmm.
They'll ask a question. One of the refrains that I love to go back to is, we're self-employed professionals. We write the rules. And there are no rules. There are none. Everything, at some point, somebody decided this is either the way that it ought to be, or this is the way that I think it ought to be, or this is just the way I'm going to do it regardless of how other. And that's just how the rest of us have followed in their lead. But in reality, we can negotiate anything. I mean, I worked with an author out in Salt Lake City, and his book was about I think one of the really cool messages in his book. This wasn't what his book was about. One of the cool messages of it was that we live in a culture here in the United States where we live in a culture. There is a subculture that says if you're not an entrepreneur, if you don't have your own business, if you don't start your own thing, then, I mean, who are you and what are you doing? What are you doing? Only an idiot, only a schmuck would be an employee and work for other people, which of course is not true at all. But his point was, it was a counterpoint to that message, which is, if you can have the stability and the resources of a huge organization, and yet create the life and the working content, the working environment that you want. In other words, if you can have all the freedom and flexibility of an entrepreneur, the things that we do enjoy because we write the rules, and the security and stability and resources and scale and reach of a huge organization, then why not have the best of both worlds? And so he went through a number of different examples of the ways that he had coached other people to negotiate the life that they wanted. So, for example, for him, he had 3 or 4 boys, and once they got up to a certain age, he wanted to raise them by the beach. And so he went to his employers, and he was so valuable. And he said, look, I want to continue, working here. I love working with you guys. But I need to raise my boys on the coast. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to relocate my entire family to the coast of California.
Wow.
And I'm going to come in. I need y'all to fly me in every week. I'm going to stay here Monday through Thursday or so, Friday morning, and then I'm going to fly out. Actually, y'all are going to pay to fly me back out there, and I'm going to spend every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with my family on the coast, and then we'll do it all again come Monday morning. I mean, Kyle, that is just absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Who in their right mind would even dream of saying, look, guys, I know we're in Salt Lake City, but I want to go live on the coast, and y'all are going to pay for it. And because he had put in so much value, because he knew his worth, and because he knew how to negotiate, and it wasn't, for him, negotiation, it's not about manipulation and tricks and knowing, contact and whatever all the dumb little things are that people think are the big things. For him, it was It was about having the right pieces in the right places, and knowing the value that they needed, and being able to deliver that value, and in fact being able to deliver over and above what they had asked and what they needed, and being able to give up a couple of things. And they're like, well, okay, but if you do that, we're not going to do it. And they're like, no, that's fine. That's not important to me. This is what's important to me. And as long as I can do this and that, then, I mean, this is a match made in heaven. So it was just blew my mind that kind of stuff that would not have even been, to me, in the realm of possibility, that for him is just a negotiating point. Blows my mind. Everything is up for negotiation.
Wow. I never would have thought of that either. I mean, you hear stories, but
here he was, living and breathing.
Wow.
And a great guy, wonderful man. And he did an awesome job with that company. In fact, helped that company get acquired. And, then he went and did his own thing, and then did such a great job. Somebody brought him on as a president or the VP of something else, and then they got sold, and he came into the new company. I mean, just a wonderful man. But yeah, he knew what was important to him in life, and he knew what he couldn't negotiate, and he knew that everything else was up for grabs. And he just had the wherewithal, not the wherewithal, he just had the mentality, the attitude that, yeah, this is something that can be negotiated, so let's negotiate it.
Wow. So he knew he was good enough.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. I've been keeping notes here as well, because I got to come back and edit this. So I want to make sure I know where I want to do edits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be, of course, editing this out. Me talking about editing.
I'm lazier than you.
Well, I'm having to do all this basically on my own, which is fine. I mean, I did radio television back in college. I worked on a soundboard for a while, so it's something I'm comfortable with. Again, it's just putting in the time. But from what I've heard you talk about it, what?
I'm saying I'm lazier than you. If stuff happens, it just goes in the podcast. All right.
Yeah. Just happens. Anyway.
But you, Kyle, doesn't surprise me. You are a professional, and so you would have a professional recording. That makes sense.
Thank you.
I wing just about everything, and so it should not come as a surprise that my podcast is also winging it.
Still, every guest, I want to give the opportunity to talk about what's next for you. What's coming up on your plate that you're really excited about and you want to get the word out.
Thank you, Kyle. What a wonderful question. So, Kyle, there's really there are two main groups of people that I help. So one of them are my own ghostpreneurs. These are ghostwriters that I've been working with and coaching, and I've over the last 3 years I've done some. I think they say that we've done some great things, and I'm about to get much more intentional about how I help my ghostpreneurs and put together being able to scale how I help. So instead of helping just a few people, being able to help quite a few. Mm. What on the other side, the other smaller group of people, but that what really is my heart are business books. I mean, that's what I do for a living. I help incredible people craft incredible business books. I'm really excited that it's just been just a few weeks that we've announced with Matthew Pollard. We had a great book came out in January of last year. Mm-hmm. HarperCollins just announced that they've signed with him for his second book that's going to come out January of 2021. So this is tentatively titled, so it's still part of the Introvert's Edge series. That was the first book, The Introvert's Edge. How the Quiet and Shy Can Outsell Anyone, which I highly recommend. It was a Matthew's system. It was really one of those huge changes in my business. Claudia Suzanne taught me how to be a ghostwriter. Latham Shinder taught me how to market myself as a ghostwriter. Matthew Pollard taught me how to sell as a ghostwriter. Those three people are the reason my business is what it is today. I am incredibly excited that Matthew's next book is going to be part of the Introvert's Edge series, titled Networking, Let Them Chase You.
Mm-hmm.
So it is all about how we as introverts can use our natural skills, our innate ability to actually connect deeper with more meaning and, in fact, with greater impact than people who have the natural charisma or the extroverts or the gifted gab kind of people. So Matthew and I just finished doing an author retreat in Nashville with the publisher, and got some great footage of actually us in the retreat with the publisher. And so we are already planning on. The publisher believes that this could be a New York Times bestseller. Like it's got that kind of potential. So we've got the publisher behind us. Matthew has an incredible marketing platform, and Matthew and I we make an awesome team. So that's probably what I'm can't say most excited, because I've got some other great authors. I will say that this project is the one that currently has by far the greatest momentum.
Wow. So that's great. And I would want to talk about that more, but apparently you guys have just started, and just as ghostwriters, we can't really talk too much details about the projects we work on.
Stock and trade.
Yeah. It's dark and trade, but it's still great. I'm excited for that too. His first book, Introvert's Edge, is on my reading list. I do need to get around to reading that. Yes, an awesome book, and so I need to find it somewhere. Yes, and now Derek's holding up an actual copy on the video
because it sits on my desk, because it's that great of a book.
Yeah, and it's like that with Heath Brothers. A lot of the Heath Brothers books, Made to Stick, Switch, Decisive. I keep going back to those. Really great stuff. So Derek, thanks for joining me on the Career Challenges podcast.
Kyle, we have been professional acquaintances and I think personal friends for a number of years now. So it is both a professional privilege and a personal honor.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great way of putting it.
To come on the podcast, and I can't wait to see the great group of people that I have the pleasure to now be part of.
Awesome. Well, on June 3rd, you'll get to find out.
I'm looking forward to it, sir.
All right. Would you like to be a guest on the Career Challenges podcast? Visit thecareerchallengespodcast.com to find out how you can share your story. Eager to share your story with a wider audience and enhance your brand? Visit weckerlywriter.com. That's WECKERLYWRITER.com to discover how you can begin your author journey. What are you waiting for?